Welcome back to some professional StarCraft Stormgate Alpha recap, though we will have the two top pros facing off in some gameplay from the very first Stormgate tournament. Yes, Scarlet versus Parting, the top two players in Stormgate right now. So, yes, that's Scarlet and that Parting, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back a bit. Stormgate from Frost Giant Studios has been in Alpha for a few months now. Everything you're seeing here is actually from the first Alpha build, which was Vanguard only, the Vanguard faction. You see it on the screen right there. VVV, which has already created some strife as an acronym. So just be aware that a lot of the footage is also from recording Discord streams, which is not the epitome of quality, just in case you're wondering why some of it looks a little off. But yes, this build a couple months old at this point, but still a lot to talk about, and finally we can share it with you. This video is not, by the way, sponsored by Frost Giant Studios, though they finally allowed us to share our thoughts on a lot of it. But again, the disclaimer, it's all alpha, it's all subject to change. I can even tell you about some of the changes that have already been made, and there's a lot of detail I want to get into. In fact, I made a whole list, and we're going to try to go through the list in a certain order, but putting lists like that up on the screen is usually very scary. Oh, you can also find this video on the Frost Giant channel with some narration as well. But yeah, we see some of the units facing off, and I'll be going back and breaking it down bit by bit. But if you enjoy and you want to see more Stormgate, be awesome if you could like and subscribe. And Jimmy, how many? What? 1,163 likes on this video. Well, I'll put out another Stormgate video. I was gonna say put out another cast, but if they could send the replays along and we could cast some probably not yet, but there's a lot to break down. Overall, my cautious optimism remains. It's certainly, we're still a long way off official release. There's a lot of details to work out. The very first strategy, which we see here, that was Fear Dragon's turret rush. Yes, turret's quite a strong option in this iteration of Stormgate. In fact, you would pull your mobs off the line, as you see Fear Dragon doing here, and then build turrets up next to your opponent's command post, which have surprisingly high DPS. That has since been toned back, but was certainly a cause for a lot of strife on the Discord server, and that's, I think, appropriate to any RTS. The very first thing that was discovered was how to abuse tower rushing. So, limit testing indeed when you get a lot of these gamers out there. But I want to make sure I actually cover all the things. I even wrote it down. Like, that's how... Okay, like and subscribe for writing things down. But, so, what you're going to be seeing in this is just the very first map. I believe it's called Broken Hinterlands. And it is your kind of generic forest map. I will say, I don't think we see it all in this video. The map in the current playtest is a lot... one of my first... complaints, not really complaints, but criticisms, was how cartoony everything looked. And you can still kind of see that, but the look of the additional map, those concerns are somewhat alleviated, as definitely a lot of different ideas going on with the map design, the art design, the environment design. I'm still not 100% on the very clean look of the Vanguard, but I've kind of learned to... The Vanguard feel more like a kind of a Protoss Terran. There's not exactly direct equivalents, but their units are very strong, and they have a tendency to potentially, like, even one or two units can swing a fight. So I'm actually going to move on over. Before I get into too much detail, I actually would like to go to the narrated version of this video so Gerald can lead you along, and you wonder why Katz's voice is coming in like this.
Your exos literally do nothing.
Alright, Jimmy, please. We queued it up? Oh, here we go. We're going to be starting again. Once again, you can find this on Frost Giant's channel. Turn it down just a little bit. But here is gameplay. You know what? I said I wanted to just watch through a narration. But one thing that did strike me is the units that are finished, like the Atlas, or seem finished to me, like the Atlas, the Vulcan, and the Lancer, look very good. Like when you zoom in on them, the detail is there. The animations look really cool. The actual use of the unit is already kind of in flux, so we can't talk about exactly what's going to counter what right now. But
as we gear up for
you can see there that and also, honestly, my personal favorite is the med tech as well. You can see over on that left side over there, the med tech, a bit bulkier,
the next
holding
round
on to
of
all those
testing
healing
starting in
packs and
early
everything like
October,
that.
we thought it would be fun to recap how testing has been going and to share some of our favorite moments. We started with testing our first faction, the Human Vanguard, in 1 versus 1 competitive only. Our co-op versus AI mode is coming later this year. These are
and I do.
not marketing
I'm
betas.
I swear I'm not gonna pause too. I'm probably gonna keep pausing, but yes, all of this is 1v1. It's all PvP. We haven't been able to test out the co-op versus AI, but I see a lot of potential already there.
But actual
So I'm very
playtests
much
for
looking
some
forward to
of
that,
our
which is
earliest
weird
work.
for me.
Our primary goal in this early phase was to generally stress test the reliability of the game's architecture. We were looking for bugs, crashes, and testing out matchmaking. And to our surprise, the game has been performing really
Matchmaking.
well, definitely exceeding our
The newest
expectations
playtest
at
has
this stage.
skill-based matchmaking,
Even though testing has been much less about balance,
which
right away
works.
our players began
mine.
theory crafting. Sergeant Fluffles tested the most efficient command post placement
Okay. Nope. Save it for the economy section.
and
Just
charted Bob worker count
so much to talk
efficiencies. Another chart details who wins this fight. What do you think? 2 scouts or 1 lancer?
the scout is a robot that you can repair the scout. Fun fact, but there's no one here to repair.
How about
The
a hedgehog
lancer
versus an
feels
exo?
much more like a zealot. The hedgehog
A
is my
Vulcan
favorite.
versus
It's still
5
very
exos?
placeholder, but the hedgehog is probably my favorite unit so far. I thought I would like the Vulcan, but honestly, I feel like the Vulcan hasn't settled into a role yet. I've been
Watching this
liking
incredible
using the
energy
hedgehog
and
a lot.
enthusiasm among players was really exciting for us. On top of this,
I'm very
a ton
excited
of
to use more
strategies began
hedgehogs.
emerging.
Partially because of the
very
voice
first build
acting. I don't know if we'll
order
hear
shared
any.
way back in pre-alpha was, as we should have known for a spiritual successor.
So, well, I love these graphics. We're going to talk about creep camps. We're going to talk about creep camps. But we're not going to do it right now. We're going to save it. But a lot of the game, especially in this build, revolved around creep camps.
StarCraft, the Sentry Gun Rush. Fear Dragon posted this build within hours of the start of testing. That didn't take long. This strategy utilizes Vanguard's unique faction ability to build structures with multiple workers. And yes, the community mapped out the efficiency of this too. Here's how it worked. To start, a Therium refinery was built right away,
It
and
is
4
much-
mobs were immediately pulled to the enemy base.
This is now...
These workers could quickly
It's a
build
description
turrets
of the
within
strategy,
range of
which has
mining and
already
enemy
been.
buildings. If not
But-
scouted before they arrive at your base,
Much like
this
Age
was
of
very
Empires,
difficult to stop.
the
But what was
Vanguard's
amazing to
unique
see is
faction
that even in a
ability
limited
is that
test,
they can build with
we saw
multiple
counters
workers.
emerge to defend
And much
this
like Age of
overpowered rush.
Empires,
If scouted, the defender could immediately
there
make
is a
Therium refinery
diminishing
and
returns
turret
with
of
how many
their own
more.
quicker,
But I've found
as it
like
was
3 or
right in
4
their
workers
base,
usually
and use
is a nice
another
number
unique
for getting
Vanguard
things. It's a
ability
little
to
bit
gain
over 2
defender's
times as
advantage.
fast, I believe.
Bobs could use their overcharge
no
ability
additional
to
cost.
increase their damage and armor in order to win this game of Rock'em Sock'em Robots. While it didn't take long for this piece of cheese to emerge, it also didn't take our team long to make some big balance changes that we'd roll out in our next phase.
Yes, this
There
has
were
been
many
nerfed
great
hard.
openers being developed. We
It
were
was
just
a
frankly
problem.
blown away with what these skilled
It
players
was,
were able to do with our
it was
early
very
build of
painful.
the game. Basically, all of the prevalent build orders revolved around capturing creep camps right at the start of the game. When a player successfully defeats
Okay, look. So the chickens are placeholder, all that's placeholder. But some of the units, they look really good. Honestly, I still kind of feel like the map is not fleshed out, but the newer maps do have a lot more kind of less cartoony look to them, even though they are kind of a similar style. But the units, I was impressed by, especially the Vanguard unit so
one
far.
of these camps.
And when you
variety of
zoom in,
things are
this
rewarded.
isn't even zoomed in on.
Some players decided to play it safe and fight uncontested resource camps on their side of the map.
They're gonna make
for an
great
economic
thumbnails,
head
these
start.
units. That's
Others,
what I see.
however, rushed to defeat a speed camp, which allowed their scouts to catch up to the enemy and prevent their escape. Each player must calculate the risk of taking unit damage and getting surrounded by the enemy versus the reward of gaining valuable power-ups.
I already said we'll
Creeping
talk
was
about creep
designed
camps.
to
We'll get
incentivize
there. We'll get there.
players to be active on the map, creating key areas of contention And
Summary
so far,
is
this
a
tug-of-war battle for
cautious
map
thumbs up
control
on the creep
seems
camps,
to be
but only
working
in the
well.
newest
The
version.
game's engineering
They've already
performed
made-
so well that players created
This is
key
important.
areas of contention, and so far, this tug-of-war battle for map control seems to be working well. The game's engineering performed so well that players were able to host a couple of impromptu pre-alpha and closed alpha tournaments. The pre-alpha tournament was team-based, and Cats, Scarlet, and Awesome Sauce held a watch party for the private Discord group.
Super inefficient here, gonna lose a bunch of units in the process. Turrets
Immediate
are
turret rush,
insane
of course.
as far as damage output is concerned.
You
Obviously,
guys
it's
missed
a big
out. You
disadvantage
guys
that
missed
they
out on
can't
dying horribly to
And
super
potential
cannons that
lost
can be
mining
repaired.
time.
If you weren't in
so
the
many
alpha, you didn't
Skyriders.
even get the
Your Exos
experience.
literally do
You
nothing.
really missed it. No, this to be clear, this is all sarcasm.
In
It
the
was
end,
terrible.
Team B won the tournament, with Scarlet clutching the final victory and becoming our pre-alpha champion.
We are super grateful.
Parting
just
would play
to all
anyone.
of the
Parting up all
time and
night. Well, I guess
attention
it's normal
that
time for them.
the testers and
Hi,
players
Tim.
have put into it so far. And
I have that shirt.
very humbled as a team to see what
Tim
you've already
Martin
done
was
on
the
something that is
I want
such
production
an
director of
early state
StarCraft 2 Legacy of the
gameplay.
Void, for those who don't know.
In the next phase, closed Alpha
And is the
1,
CEO of
players
Frost Giant
hosted
Studios.
their own end of Alpha tournament on Rally Cry, and we assisted their efforts. Players signed up to an open bracket, and it came down to a round of 8. Beomolf and Attico even hosted their own shoutcast of the matches. Here are some highlights.
This
See,
is
he's on
Discord
3 bases. He
stream
doesn't really
footage,
have that
so
production. Now the
it's
Skyrider bubble gets
very
off the
janky.
Just has to get on top. He has got to get in
Discord
right now.
streams are
Otherwise,
so
he
bad.
will lose that third.
I can't wait to stream
Skyrider
it
bubble has minimized, I think,
on a
enough
real
of the
platform
damage
to you
here,
guys.
even as Lucifron gets on top of it. So yeah, eventually Lucifron dives on top, but the bubble shields the rest. And it is just so much damage that Lucifron is taking right now.
Okay, I wanna pause right here and say I'm doing this video. I debated doing like a big edited bit by bit video, but I think I'm gonna stop trying to hold myself. I was trying to hold it to 20 minutes, but it's not gonna be 20 minutes. I'm gonna need to talk about so much stuff, and this is not even including the stuff I can't talk about yet. So, why did I say that? That's not helpful. But I didn't. But I'm gonna stop trying to feel like I'm rushing through, and we're gonna break down each of these things I got up here, and we're gonna take a little time on it. I do apologize if this felt a little hectic, because there's a lot. And again, you can just watch the whole video straight through on the Frost Giant channel.
In the end, it came down to finals between Parting and Kiwian.
Well, we're gonna have the Vulcans dash
Parting
forward
versus
there, and
Kiwian
we
is a
just don't
tried
have
and
the
true
upgrade.
finals.
Kiwian, so now Parting gets on top here. He sets his blood, but he's in the range of the Vulcans, and there are more of them. Watch the
If you
Exos
remember,
fall. That was not
Find
the
some of
play
those
there,
videos on my
Parting.
channel.
Kiwan decided to go up the ramp. He's gonna get the turret kill first, and now the Skyriders can just bubble his own units. And it seems like the Exos from Kiwan are making short work of his opponents. All of those mobs might be overcharged, but they take damage all the same. And the base is very low health right now. With the turret going down, that base going down in the natural, it didn't even get a lot of mining. I could see Parting GGing out of here because that evac didn't have enough damage to sustain him into a victory. And it is gonna be Kiwan winning 2-0
I
on the
forgot about
finals
that.
of the
I didn't even mention Kiwi when I was talking about the pro players. I
All
just
that,
assumed
we
Parting won
think that
both.
Testing so far has been
Oh, Scarlet
incredibly
won the
successful
first tournament, but
and
Kiwi had
so
actually
much
beat
fun.
Party in the
We're
second one.
getting
I'm not sure if
tons of
Scarlet
valuable
played or not.
feedback that's leading to a lot of improvements.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to continue welcoming more players to each new testing phase.
Yep.
And here's a
Wish
bit of
list
fun trivia.
and
We've
sign
been
up description.
internally
Jimmy in the
codenamed each
description.
testing build based on past real-time strategy units. Apocalypse was what we called our first closed pre-alpha playtest.
Which is a very
Then came
weird
Baneling, the
code
closed
name
alpha test we just held
for
in
a
August
first test, by the
2023.
way.
Luckily,
I gotta-
the game didn't blow up. And now for our next testing phase, Chronosphere. This is another closed alpha test, and the good news is we have tripled the amount of players invited to test the game.
Pretty sure it's
And
more than
after
that,
much anticipation, we're adding our next playable faction, the Infernals. This early feedback really helps us as a team
Oh,
figure out
there is some Infernals footage. Oh, I can talk. Okay.
what's working and focus our attention on areas
Exciting.
in most need of improvement. We can't wait to get this game into everyone's hands.
All right,
If you'd
all
like
right.
to be considered for this and future testing, sign up for beta on playstormgate.com. And
right,
if you
so I'm-
haven't already, wishlist Stormgate
It
on
does.
Steam.
So it's been explained to me. It's kind of like liking and subscribing for these videos. It gets it in front of more people who might be interested. You, who's watching this right now, probably already knows about Stormgate. and was going to look at this anyways. It does help. It costs you nothing. So even if you're not sure about the game, if you're sure about liking RTS, it gets my full endorsement there. It costs you nothing. It's a click. I beg you for clicks all the time. Give them a wish list. All right.
See you in battle.
Whoever recorded this video only played 7.6 hours. What a noob. I have way more hours than that. I think it's like 40 now. Anyways, I'm going to go back. This is the non-voiceover version. I'm just going to have on repeat in the background unless I know. You know what? I'm going to try to skip to parts because this is the only footage we have to show you right now. There are replays. I don't know if I talked about it. Back to the list, Jimmy. Thank you. So, the general feel. Very alpha. Very alpha. There's a lot of pathfinding glitches to work out. Honestly, a lot of the units feel like you don't really know what size they're going to be. It's still kind of getting worked out, like how much space some units. You can see a little bit of moving back and forth. One of the really cool things, though, is the I think you see some Lancers here. Or you see it against the Scout, actually, a little later on. So the Lancer is one of my favorites. I think it's really, especially in the newest playtest, it's found its identity. It's essentially a zealot. Imagine a zealot, but the sword will go through up to essentially the range of 2 targets. So I really feel it kind of finds a cool front line. And at this point, we have to talk about pacing of the... I actually need to jump forward and talk about speed and pacing of the game. Outside of cannon rushing and all of that, I'm going to be talking about the newest playtest, which you're not seeing much of any here, but the fights are slower than StarCraft 2. Significantly so in many cases. There are some distinct exceptions, but those are hotly contested. I'm not going to talk about specific unit interactions most of the time because all of those have already changed half a dozen times. But the actual fights feel they're somewhere in between my understanding of Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2. You see kind of here, you've got a lot of units fighting each other, and while they might be able to target each other down, there's not a lot of like splash damage. There's nothing resembling like a Widow Mine. There is... The pacing of the fights is significantly slower, and it makes it much more important to keep your units alive in several cases. Like, for example, the Vanguard units have Veterancy. I know, right? Veterancy, they rank up. Not like heroes. They don't get more abilities, but Veterancy allows them to reduce damage and also deal more. So there are 3 levels of Veterancy, give or take. I think that's what we're currently at. Each unit, including your workers, I think you can see in some of these the little Veterancy icons. You see there the little ticks. This at first I didn't like it because so essentially if a unit is killed by a unit or it's killed nearby and it like assisted in it, I'm pretty sure it's just nearby. It gets some XP and it levels up. At first, I didn't like it because going from StarCraft 2, not a big fan of the idea of units leveling up. But as I played a little bit more, it really does feel like it makes a difference. It makes it so it's not just who perfectly target fires in this fight. You get rewarded with a unit that does, not significantly, but that does better, and especially on stronger units like the Vulcan or the Atlas, which have a lot more damage potential. It's very noticeable how much longer it can survive without feeling super snowball. It's still going to get run down. Like, if they have twice as many units, it's not even going to be close. But if they have, like, say you have 10 exos, they have 12 exos, but, like, most of your exos are level 1 as opposed to 0, like they start. You'll probably win that fight. Also, so that, without getting into too much detail on the specifics, I think maybe Veterancy might be better off. And now, this is me speculating. This is not... I want to be clear. Unless you're seeing it and I'm pointing it out in the video, this is either me speculating or my interest, not necessarily what's in the game or intended for the game. I just want to get all that out there. But I would probably prefer it to be limited to stronger units. as opposed to every single infantry unit, but it definitely was noticeable in the game. That's a weird cut there, but that is Frost Giant Studios. As you see, the CEO right there. I didn't notice this the first time, but this is actually, I think they're having a watch party for the tournament. Yeah, so honestly, I came into I want to talk again. I'm going to be all over the place. I came into this video like with a bunch of criticism ready. I have a lot of stuff that I'm not 100% sold on yet. But now I'm here, what are we, like 20 minutes in? And I'm really excited. Which is weird, because I came in, like I've been playing a lot of games. And at this point, so I want to say if you're not in the alpha yet, you're probably not missing out, even if you're excited. Because the alpha is, there are a few days of fun, and then it's like parting and Scarlet bullying people. And by that I mean, it's kind of self-selecting where the more hardcore 1v1 gamers, the pros, literally, I've recognized so many players from both Age of Empires, StarCraft, and I assume other RTS games, but like, it's a lot of min-maxing right now, and you're not going to get quite the variety of gameplay because everybody's trying to figure out the best way to win, the limit testing and stuff like that, which can be fun, and I've had a lot of fun with. But even if you're not in the alpha yet, it's only getting better, and that is why I'm ending up at this part of the video where I'm like, you know what? I am actually really excited. Even if I have a lot of misgivings, and I think it might take a little longer to work it all out. But the design of the units, get back on track. Okay, interlude over. Gameplay basics. You start out, it's StarCraft. Okay? It's StarCraft with a little bit of Warcraft flavor. That is the easiest way I can tell you about both the building of your base and the economy. You mine Luminite from the, in this case, the placeholder. Your Bobs mine Luminite. Up to 12 or so. And the more, there are certain mechanics, like a certain amount, I believe we worked out 8 Bobs is the ideal number on each base. And then past that, they have to go a little further, so the travel distance isn't quite as efficient, so it's better to expand. And then you have, now, very interesting, Jimmy, we're skipping to Therium. I don't know how much we actually see Therium in this video. But Therium is the tech resource. And now, there's a lot to talk about here, and I'm going to try to boil it down. Okay, you see it right there. On Lucifron's screen over to the right. Notice, so, there's happy green and sad green. Factorial players may know what I'm talking about. It essentially works just like that. From my understanding, it's kind of, I think it's a command and conquer mechanic as well. But what happens is Therium slowly but surely spreads over time. It never outright depletes. You cannot mine out, but you can mine down. So essentially, you have sad green, and your Bobs, in this case, can mine it. And it's about 5 workers to mine the current amount. But over time, it enriches as it's out on the field. I don't know. It gets oxidized. Don't worry about it. Space magic. And that mines about 4 times as fast. That happy green up there. So it is in your best interest to not mine at the maximum rate, if at all possible, in order to let more of the Therium enrich, so it's easier and more efficient to mine it later. So this kind of leads to expanding early in order to secure those areas, and a lot of different details and math about it, and it's already changed half a dozen times, but I think it's really interesting, because in StarCraft 2, the resource, well, 1, there is not infinite resources. Though in Brood War, from my understanding, Vespene geysers never outright mine out, unlike StarCraft 2. They just deplete, and you have a very slow rate. The same as in Stormgate, where you can mine out of Luminite, I believe outright. But the Therium, the tech resource for your more expensive units, and there are only 2 resources right now, doesn't outright mine out, but instead you mine out of the enriched Therium. Now, another thing, this is a relatively small thing, but I don't like the names. I don't like Luminite, I don't like Therium. I feel like they're pretty locked in at this point, but they feel so generic sci-fi-y, and like it's gonna be very hard to keep people from just calling them minerals and gas, or maybe like rocks. But I already struggle with my THs enough, no matter how many thousands of likes we get. So, but that is my biggest pet peeve with it. And it does feel much like StarCraft 2, with the balance between your Luminite and your Therium, where you have maybe a 5th or a 6th of your workers mining your tech resource. But I just want to go back one more time. The key point is, if you really want to and you have enough on the field, you could send 20 of your workers and mine all of that out right now. Like, you could get rid of it right now, or you could get a location that has the happy rocks and mine it very quickly and then evacuate that location if it's not defensible. So this, I think, is actually the most interesting part of the economy and the biggest split from StarCraft 2 and the biggest potential for kind of creating a more like maps designed around that mechanic. Which brings us to creep camps. Okay, so first impression. I hate creeps. They're dumb. They're for MOBA players and Warcraft players, which is just MOBA, the prequel. In the original build you're seeing here, the creep camps were way overtuned. They were so strong. The speed buff you would get. But the way creep camps work in the current iteration and what we're trending towards are things like, you see that vision camp right there? That vision camp, if you claim it, I believe there were chickens there. Nobody's claimed it yet. That's what's on the ground there. When you kill the creeps, you get resources. And that's kind of a factor in early builds because some of them give Therium, which is not easy to mine early. And 2, so the vision camp creates something like a watchtower in StarCraft 2, but it can be destroyed. So one side takes the camp, the other side can take it out. It's got a lot of HP. It's like killing something really like a barracks level of HP. But honestly, and you can see if they have it. So you have an idea. You know they have that information. You know you have to go into the vision to deny it. But once you deal with it, it's gone for several minutes. The times are going to change, I'm sure, and the design and all that. And then the next time the creep camp comes back, they're harder creeps that give you more XP. Not XP, but resources. Maybe XP, I'm not sure. But they give you more resources the next time you kill them, and so on and so forth. I've never really seen them get past level 4 or 5, but that's where it is right now. There's also a healing camp that heals everything in that area. That one factors in a lot because even though you do have access to a med tech unit and you can repair, those are a bit higher on the tech tree overall, and make it much more important to keep your units alive, especially combined with the veterancy mechanic. And I'm gonna just take a drink of water before I start hyperventilating trying to talk about all this. You can watch Fear Dragon turret rush people. I think one of the only games Scarlet lost was to Fear Dragon's disgusting, I mean, very creative turret rush. The sentry gun is temporary art, you can see up there. If it looks like a placeholder, it probably is on the art. All right. So, hotkeys and UI. That's where we are now. I'm not going to get into too much detail on the gameplay, as once again, a lot of it's subject to change. Oh, we just had it there. I was looking for a screenshot we could find of the UI itself.
As far as damage out.
And players have put into it.
which is surprisingly hard to find in this video. Oh. Jimmy. There. Okay. So, I'm going to move my face. So, it's good. It's one, you should be reminded very much of StarCraft. Two, I love a lot of the ideas. You've got your basics. You've already got everything you think is going to work. You got camera locations. There's not the customizability we'd like yet, but that's definitely going to happen as we go along. And then now, one thing I want to draw your attention to are the Q and W keys. That is quick build and quick unit production. It is not perfect, but what it does is you can pull automatically one of your workers off the line, and it will build like a supply, a habitat, or a barracks or whatever, without you having to manually select that worker. This is, I think, the first of several things that really benefit less high-level players than more high-level players, though definitely I've started using it. The W key there is quick build of units. You can do the same thing, but with units. And you can potentially rally all your production facilities. There's still a lot of edge cases to work out on this, but essentially, instead of having to hotkey all your barracks and your mech bays and your hangars, instead you can just build from the list of units. It's not as precise, but for, say, a lower level player who's just playing a tower defense game, or even for a pro who's in the middle of microing the long, relatively drawn out battles, I've started using it. All right. They've already gone through a couple iterations, each of which better than the last. And I'm really liking it. Also on R&T are upgrades. So you can, it's essentially like hotkeying in your engineering bays, your evolution chambers, stuff like that. But it's built into the UI. So I do think these are things that there's no reason not to have. They don't really lower the skill ceiling because you can still, it only pulls off one worker, and so you can't build it with multiple workers. But it just expedites the process of when before you would just be clicking on a Bob or an SCV and building a building. So I do like that a lot. And I think changes like that are needed and welcomed for RTS games in current year. All right. Micro versus macro. So the build-up is... the game starts very quickly. You have enough resources and workers, as we saw from Fear Dragon, to... honestly, this is a big point of contention, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But it still feels kind of like StarCraft. It feels most like Protoss to me. So far, the expansion pacing and how you build up your production. But it's all subject to change. But it definitely has a StarCraft 2 feel to it. That's going to be the most recognizable. Whereas when it comes to micro, there's a lot of little details and a lot of little abilities. There's already an attempt. I think there needs to be a lot more work done, personally. But an attempt to really visualize some of the units on the field without having to click on them to see exactly how they're going to do. Like, for example, the Hedgehog. Where's my Hedgehog? Here we are. So, I don't know if you could see it here. But the Hedgehog is like an ammo-based... it's kind of like a vulture, is what it feels like. But you see the little missiles on the top of the Hedgehog? Well, you don't right now. But those are actually ammo on a cooldown. The Hedgehog regenerates those every few seconds, but it can fire them all off for a big value of damage. But that's why the Exo is able to get even close in this fight. Because if you notice, and if you look closely, the missile regenerates there. We're fast forwarding. But there's already an attempt to do that with a lot of the little upgrades and visuals. That's placeholder art for the Hedgehog. But the fact you can see how many missiles they have ready, stuff like that, I'm really a sucker for, and I think is a great way to kind of visualize units as opposed to just having a number somewhere. I mean, the number is how much ammo they have, but it is very cool. And there are several things like that so far. All right. So. Vanguard. Honestly, okay. How much can I talk about here? A lot of it has changed since the footage you're seeing. You've got, it does feel, the gameplay style is very similar to Terran in SC, at least everybody's playing it like Terran in SC2. The units are different, but you're running around with a lot of strong bio units, and then you get some Atlas tanks behind, is currently my experience. It's not a bad thing, but the economy might feel a little more like the Protoss, but the actual gameplay feel is much like Terran, if you want to compare it to anything. Infernals, though. Honestly, so we've only been playing with Infernals for a little while on the newest playtest, which we have very little footage of. These are the Infernals here on the newer map. A lot of sand. I hate sand, but it is a very different look. The Infernals feel significantly different. The look in game, I think they don't set themselves apart as much as it's kind of varied right now. A lot of the higher tech units for both sides are not yet in the game, so it's kind of hard to draw too many opinions on how it plays out. But I will say the two factions so far feel distinct. And yeah, there's so much that's work in progress for Infernals. I really can't talk too much about it. But I was surprised. So I don't know the exact win rates, but so far in my experience, Vanguard versus Infernals was pretty even. Like, people have different strategies that work, like going for certain creep camps at certain times. But I was surprised that there wasn't a clear advantage for either faction. Like, I thought that, like, a day into the alpha, then somebody would figure out, oh, this strategy just outright beats Infernals, or this strategy from Infernals outright beats Vanguard. No, there's a back and forth. I played actually my longest games against Infernals as Vanguard, as opposed to any of the mirror matchups. Though Infernal versus Infernal so far kind of feels a little more like ZVZ. But with that said, Infernals do have their own unique feel, and I think are going to be changed a lot. But I wasn't sold on them at the start, but I've come around a lot on it. So, where does this leave us? There's a lot I haven't been able to tell you. All right? There's a lot that is going to change, even probably has changed, as the build I'm playing on is not the one they got at Frost Giant. What I do still very much trust Frost Giant to be interested in making a next generation RTS. One thing that we haven't seen yet that I'm very much looking forward to, and I have no extra info on. I can't believe I'm saying it. It's weird for me. I see a lot of potential in co-op and custom games. I mean, Kevin Dong, game designer, was the lead co-op designer for the most fun commanders in StarCraft 2. Manx, Tychus, the other Stepman. And I think he knows how to design a really cool co-op. And I feel like I missed the boat on StarCraft 2 co-op. By the time I got into it, and I still haven't really, like, as it hasn't been developed lately. Because, you know, well, K-Dong left. I think there's a lot of cool ideas that can very obviously be applied to co-op. And I know most of my audience isn't that interested in it, or at least interested in watching videos of it. But I think there's going to be a lot of potential there. And I hope, one, the next alphas, or the next versions of the alphas that maybe you guys will get in on, will have something along those lines. And two, I hope I get to show you even beforehand. Frustra, I'm on board, all right? I'm not just a professional caster. I'm a casual now. I'm old-ish. So, you know. Well, there you go. Stormgate. I was aiming for 25 to... Well, I was thinking about 20 minutes. I was aiming for 30 minutes. Honestly, got kind of close on this video. I knew there'd be a lot to talk about, and even more left out. But I hope this gives you a better picture of the game. I'm not trying to sell you on anything besides quick and wish list. I do want to talk about Zero Space as well. A lot of people saw my interest in that and were interested in it as well. I think Zero Space and Stormgate are both super interesting. If I say interest one more time, I bet it might as well be running a bank, but I think Zero Space is going about it very differently. I think Zero Space is more embracing the kind of like a almost Command and Conquer-esque, like a bunch of different factions and different units, whereas Stormgate is more Brood War-esque, like boiling down a faction to relatively few units, but that serve kind of a clear role. Which there are two different ways of going about it. I'm interested very much for both. And right now, this is the info I got for you. So it's not a one or the other. It's not a zero-sum game. There's still going to be StarCraft 2 content coming out, and I really do hope it continues, at least until we all kind of figure out. You know what? In a perfect world, you'd have StarCraft 2, you'd have AoE 2, you'd have Zero Space, Stormgate, Beyond All Reason, and what have you else of competitive RTS. And all those games, I think, will have players going into the future. And right now,
You're gonna lose a bunch of units in the process. Turrets are insane.
oh my god, I'm so distracted. But and then, not the time to be showing the turret rush. Oh my god, that was painful. I'll admit, the turrets were so ridiculous that I did stop playing after everybody was building them. They got nerfed super hard. They're very active on the balance changes. All right, turret rushing will hopefully not be a thing by the time you get a hold of it. Oh, they're still pretty good. All right. Summary. I'm looking forward to the future. I hope this video made your day a little bit better. I hope you like and subscribe. Wishlist on Steam. And check out more videos. Thank you for watching. I'm going to cut this off before I ramble some more. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.